You can live a life full of love and light if you just let the Spirit guide you. It's the remedy where you'll find peace, but you must let the Spirit guide you.
Who made y'all priests?
Got your new toy. Bravo.
What's up, world? This Awo Fafore.
What's going on, good people? This is Awo Osheun. Welcome back to the Who Made Y'all Priest podcast, where we talk about our spiritual journeys, our everyday life experiences, and the issues of the time from the perspective of two people who just happen to be priests. Fafore, what's going on, man? I see you tried to get you a solo in.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Since we talking about sound healing, I feel like, let me pull out my tongue drum.
Oh, I feel you, man. I need to get me one of those, man. Where you get yours from?
Amazon, man, where you get everything from.
I know it, huh?
What's it called? A sack of weed.
What's it called?
It's called a tongue drum. Remember when I went to San Diego and I was staying in that house, the Airbnb with the yoga studio and all that?
Yeah.
Yeah, they had a tongue drum in there. And man, the other day I was downstairs playing and man, I was low-key vibing. I said, okay.
Right.
Like, okay, I can feel it. Like I see what's up with this sound healing.
Right. Hey, so let me get your opinion on something.
All right.
Why do you think that there is not as much outrage about the 5 black police officers killing an unarmed black man as there was when Big Floyd was killed?
Because the police officers was black.
Wow.
And we want to be mad at white people. That's really what it boils down to. Kind of like our conversation that we had on about karma last season.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a very, very valid argument when certain people, specifically black people, right, brought up the fact that there was this big hoopla about police officers killing unarmed black people. But it's not that big of a hoopla about what we call black on black violence.
Right.
And to me, I thought it was a sound argument. If we need to care about violence against people in general, first and foremost. But we also need to care about anybody that kills black people, whether they look like us or they don't.
Right.
So I believe since we don't have that big of an outrage against black on black violence, this police thing with the black people, with the 5 black officers in Memphis is black on black violence. So just one of those things that there's no outrage to be had, unfortunately.
That was the answer you gave was pretty straightforward. I kind of thought we was going to debate about that, about why there wasn't that much outrage, man. And it's sad. It's sad that we only care about, to me, it seems as if we only care about black life when it's snuffed out by somebody that doesn't look like us. And when we kill ourselves, there is no, like you say, there's no outrage to be had. And that's sad. That's why it's difficult for me to listen to people say that Black Lives Matter, when in fact what you mean is Black Lives Matter when they are taken by white people. That's the only time Black Lives Matter. I'm to the point now where I feel like black people in general, we use the white man like Christians use the devil.
Oh,
We have somebody to point at, to blame everything on, and I think until we take responsibility for our own selves, we will never get out of the predicament that we in right now. Never.
yeah, I agree. I agree. I think the people who say there's a difference is disingenuous, especially when you say the difference. You put a greater importance on it when it's somebody done from another race. To me, it's a bigger deal when it's somebody from our own race. I think we've accepted though a certain level of black on black violence. I think that's the thing. I think we've become desensitized, and because black on black violence, for the most part, except when you have like, a stray bullet, hit a grandmother, or a stray bullet hit a kid, there's an acceptance of when these people who are engaging in certain activities die, it's kind of part of the path in which they chose.
Right. Right. I heard D.L. Hughley say that the worst thing that black people have ever accepted is the concept of black on black crime. And I couldn't have disagreed with him more. It's like there is black on black crime. It Me as a black man, I'm more likely to be the victim of another black man. And I know that to be the case. I know that to be the case. Just like a white man is more likely to be the victim uh, of another white man.
Right.
I know that to be the case. Black on black violence is a real thing. And until we become outraged about black on black crime, people really can miss me with the Black Lives Matter movement and anything dealing with outrage as far as white cops killing unarmed black men. Man, they can miss me with that.
Right, right. I know one person who was killed by a cop, one black person. A guy I grew up, a friend of mine, his older brother was killed by a police officer. That's the only person that I know who was killed by a police officer. Now I know a lot of people who were killed by other black people.
Oh,
So,
definitely.
my whole thing is, and I've said this time and time again, my response to a lot of the things that are happening all stems to the de-evolution of the community, of the family structure. Everything goes back to that. If we had a strong family structure, we would have strong communities. If we had strong communities, then black on black violence would be like number one priority.
Hmm. Right. Yeah.
Maybe, yeah, I'll say that'll be number one priority.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's a deep issue that we have, man. And I think it's because we carry so much trauma in our DNA. I was watching Harriet. I watched Harriet for the first time about Harriet Tubman. And
Oh, okay. I'm gonna say, what is that?
and just to see how some of our people acted during that time, man, that it angers me. It makes me super mad. And not saying that, I can't fault, I guess, them for being who they were at that time.
Right.
Maybe they felt like some of them felt like that was something that they had to do to survive. But man, I just feel like how I am now, just no. I would have died. I would have died early. I would have died early, super early in my trip from Africa to over here. I'd have died early. I don't think I'd have jumped in the water, but I'd have died early.
Yeah, you scared of water. That's why you wouldn't have jumped in the water.
Probably several lifetimes back too.
Right, right. But here's the crazy thing about it, from our standpoint of what we follow, what we believe in E5, is that some of us probably was still alive or was alive in a different lifetime at that time, and we made certain decisions.
Right.
Some of us fought, some of us jumped overboard, some of us picked that cotton. You know what I'm saying? So it would be interesting if on the spot when we would have these conversations and black people said what they did, like what they wouldn't have done, if you could just divine on the spot for them and be like, oh well, if I say you was there, no, you was picking cotton. You ain't raised your voice, you ain't do nothing.
Right, right. You know, it's crazy. You talked about you only know one person that was ever killed by a police officer. I only know one person also that was killed by a police officer, and the person that I happen to know is who everybody know now is George Floyd.
Right.
Big Floyd from my neighborhood. I did probably easily 3 years with Big Floyd too. Played basketball with Big Floyd, so I knew him personally, and it did something to me to see him the way that I saw him on that videotape. But it didn't make me more outraged than I would be with these black officers in Memphis. And then there are more things that are coming out now that that guy was messing with one of the police officers' baby mama, and all type of things are coming out now. So
Right.
you know, I don't know them to be absolute truth, but those are the things that are coming out now. And it's sad that that man lost his life. That black man lost his life at the hands of other black men who happen to be cops over something as minuscule as them having beef over a woman.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing. I can't really talk about it in the way in which I could probably talk about the Floyd situation because I haven't watched the video. And actually, with the George Floyd situation, I didn't watch that video in its totality. Like I saw like maybe a few seconds of the clip that were kind of circulating, but I didn't actually sit and watch the whole clip. But when it comes to this situation with the brother in Memphis, I haven't watched a second of it. So I don't know what they did or didn't do. I knew I didn't want to watch that stuff anymore with the George Floyd situation. So with here, I didn't watch it. I think the last thing that I might have actually watched, maybe the majority of, was Mike Brown.
Yeah. I watched a little bit of the 5 officers in Memphis. I couldn't even watch the whole thing. I couldn't watch the whole thing the way that they brutalized him, and that was magnitude times worse than what was done to Big Floyd. Magnitudes worse.
Wow.
I couldn't watch the whole thing, man. I couldn't watch the whole thing. I was like, man, look how they doing this. Look how they doing this, man. Look how they doing this, man. Yeah, man, that was disturbing.
Wow. I'm glad I didn't watch it. To hear you say that lets me know I made the right decision.
Yeah, it's disturbing, man. The way that they did him, man, yeah, it was terrible, man. It was horrible. So those officers, I think, will get their just due.
Oh yeah, they black, so they're definitely going to jail.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
The only way that they don't go to jail, to be perfectly honest, is if the powers that be is like, if we send them to jail, then we're setting a precedent. So moving forward, this is kind of what we have to do. Even after George Floyd, you don't see, there were some couple of incidents after that. You don't really see police still going to jail. They're being indicted and things of that nature. But yeah, I think if this goes down the way people are thinking it's going to go down because they're black, yeah, it's going to set a whole new precedent. So the powers that be got to watch that. Like, they got to be like, oh, wait a minute. I don't know how we want to handle this.
Right.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. Yeah, man. So what you want to do, man? You ready to get into this into the meat of this episode, man? We got a good one for the people today, man.
Yeah, let's get it. Let's go ahead and start this off.
Hey.
Hey, we
Ready too. You
got you.
already got your stuff turned
Tilapia.
the right way.
Tilapia.
Trying to make sure. I was like, let me wear some priestly looking stuff, and then y'all got the white shirts on. I guess this white was supposed to be part of it.
Yeah, there you
Yeah, you
go.
good.
Aboro Boye, how you doing?
Boy, I told her, Shorty Woody Wafoon, I'm well, and you?
We are well. We happy to have you here. We thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here with us today.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm honored and it's a pleasure. You guys been doing the thing with all the Ias and the Awos, so I'm honored to be a part of this season.
We appreciate it. I would have it no other way because you was there at my Ishe Fa. When my Ishe Fa was lit. When our Osheon, when he came through, it was like how like when you just starting out your church, it's in the house, in the living room, you sitting on crates, whatever. That's how his Ishe Fa was. My Ishe Fa was like E5 Freak Meek. It was packed.
It was a lot of us. Yes, it was. I do remember that. It was a lot of us that year. I do remember that. It was right after the festivals for Baba's birthday and all of that. So
right. See, good thing come to those who wait.
See,
they ain't got no patience. He was thirsty.
Yeah, I was ready, man. I couldn't wait, man. I wanted to get in where I fitted in with Baba, man. After my very first reading, I was ready to go.
I know that feeling. I was there too when I got my hand, so I know that feeling.
Yes, ma'am. I was ready to go. So, introduce yourself to the people. Tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you come from, and all of the things.
And all the EFI names too. We need all that.
You need all of that. Well, I was born Jacqueline Nicole Carmouche. I'm Mary. Born and raised in California. I am now known as Iya Kemi Omigbemi Oshun Karimi Ifa Yoyen Fayemi Akambi. I am a priest of Ifa, Yemoja, and Oshun, and I'm also a sound alchemist and an artist.
That's what I'm talking about. That was fast. That rolled off the tongue real easy.
Well, when you saying your prayers and your name daily, it tends to just roll.
Ashe. So, Iya, on the Who Made Y'all Priest podcast, we always like to start people off by going over their spiritual journey. So, walk us through your spiritual journey and how you got to Ifa.
So I was raised with a Catholic father, and my mother grew up Catholic. However, she kind of took me through different practices. I went to Baptist church with her when I was younger. She actually had me study with Jehovah's Witness when I was younger. And then as she moved, I started going to Christian churches and big mega church that was non-denominational. And I wind up going to a women's conference with a friend of mine's sister who was a pastor, her husband and was also a pastor. And this women's conference was actually on native grounds in Palm Springs, and it was native Indian grounds. And so I started to have somewhat of an awakening around that time. And the sibling who introduced me to her actually introduced me to Kemetic studies and the way of the Orisha. And at that time, I was already kind of like, well, all these religions are the same thing. God is love. Like, they just have different teachings and different modalities that help them get the people to their Christ consciousness, so to speak. And so in 2011, 2010, back up a little bit, I was going through healing myself. And in that, they said, oh, well, my Baba that did readings, I'll let you know when they come in town. I was like, oh, okay. So I was out probably in 2011 at a function. And I'm at this function that's at the beach, and the person walked up to me and was like, I think you're a child of Yemo Giles Oshun, so I think you need to be careful when you go to the water. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm like, all right, whatever that means. So I go to the water, and I'm thinking, and I'm all happy. And then I started thinking about a particular situation, and the water got higher and raised to my knees. And I walked back over to him, and he was like, you went over there playing. That's okay. You're going to meet your Baba Lao soon. Well, less than 6 months later, the reading opportunity came, and Baba Femi was in town, or Alua was in town, and I got my first reading. So that's how everything unfolded. The first book, Way of the Orisha, and first reading, and I was sold. Like Awo Osheum, I was ready to go. In April, I got my hand to V5. So it's been a beautiful journey, and even in this journey, I've done different healing modalities, Reiki, yoga. It's been a lot on my spiritual journey. So I love this season of healing because I can definitely talk about it.
I should. So you mentioned different healing modalities. And so this season is dedicated to healing. And it's dedicated to healing over multiple different modalities. Obviously, you're going to walk us through something that you are an expert on. Mm-hmm. So what are your thoughts on this whole process of healing? And what does healing mean to you?
Oh, so healing means to me the ability to be whole. Whole mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and even physically. Healing can look different for every person, it's to me being able to be in tune with your intuition, being able to process your feelings versus putting energy in motion. As Baba would say, that's emotions. The ability to not judge people for their walk in their life and their healing. Healing could be when a person's aura, if you're into seeing people's auras and colors that come from their being, and their ability to just love and be happy. Because some people are happy all the time, but they're really not happy on the inside when they go into those rooms by themselves. So it's a way of living. It's a walk. To me, it's really a walk. It's a journey that we all take, or some choose not to take, and they're happy with where they are and don't even see the need to heal or what is it that they're healing. So for me, healing has been a journey of getting to know myself. So healing is a gaining that knowledge of self, because without knowing that, you can't elevate, you can't evolve, you're continuing the generational trauma in some cases when you don't go through the healing process.
Not sure.
And so you practice sound therapy. In your introduction, you say that you are a sound alchemist. I had the privilege of being at one of your sound baths at the last conference in Galveston. When I sat on your blanket, I had this feeling of these vibrations kind of interacting with my own. Tell us a little bit about sound therapy and how it works. How does it work, and how would you use it to help someone heal?
So sound therapy is comprised of different frequencies. We are electric magnetic beings. Our bodies are majority water. And so the vibration itself at those frequencies are specific to certain parts of your body. So with the bowls that I use bowls that have the chakras, so it goes to the root chakra, which is the reproductive area, the sacral, which is right below the navel, and then moving up with the solar and the heart, the throat, and the mind, the third eye, and your crown chakra. So with these tools, Dr. Emoto shows the vibration of words, and it's similar with sound, because even our words are sound coming from our body. So that is in itself therapy if you're mindful of your words and you're using your words to heal versus to destroy. And so I use tuning forks and different things that calibrate the body. And again, it aligns with the organs in the body. It can help people sleep and all these different things. So it's kind of dope to me. I love it. I really do love it.
That was a beautiful experience. I had never experienced anything like that. I didn't know anything about sound therapy. I had heard about it recently, like right before the conference, so to get to experience that was a beautiful thing. How did you get started in sound therapy, and what made you want to use that as a healing modality?
First, I was my first client. I use sound for myself. I would use different sound frequencies on YouTube to help me sleep. to meditate, to help me even calibrate my body when I was healing myself from things that I was dealing with. And it has really been beneficial to my growth as well. You know, my thought process and how I listen to things. I've seen it do magical things to other people, not knowing what it was doing. I began to research even dolphin therapy, you know, and found that there used to be in San Diego a center where pregnant women can go and swim with the dolphins. And just the sound of the dolphin was healing to the baby. And they found that babies who had that type of therapy were a little bit more advanced than babies who may not have had that. So for me, it was just a no-brainer as to what resonated with me. And if it helped me, then I can share it with others, you know. But I was the first rat, so to speak, you know, lab rat.
That's interesting that you mentioned how you would use, you know, sounds from YouTube to sleep and things of that nature. Because as a kid, I used to listen to the radio to go to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And then it like kind of transitioned to the fan. So it was either like a fan was on or I had to have the radio on. And it wasn't until I got into spirituality and started studying numbers and things of that nature, I have a lot of fives in my chart. And it talks about those people being clairaudient and like having to have some kind of background noise. So I start asking questions to like everybody whose chart I had all these fives, whether they're life path five or have fives in multiple different areas in their chart. And the same thing, it was coming up the same way. And I was like, I wonder if the frequency from the radio station was somehow helping me sleep, or even the noise of the fan.
And it's true, especially if you're clairaudient. When I was younger, I used to actually hear or think I would hear my mother call my name, but it wasn't my mother. It was actually my ancestors calling my name. And so I've realized that, you know, I have a very keen ear, and maybe that's what also led me. I do have five in my my chart, numerology. I need fumbling with words, you know, but I'm human. My numerology chart, and that five is for me. It brings balance. Music brings balance to me. You know, I was one that would listen to the beat before I would listen to the lyrics. My mom brought me up on, I used to go to operas and things of that nature, you know, musicals. So I've always been in tune with music, and live instruments to me are way better than the instruments that they use now to make music. It's computerized,
Right.
you know, and that has a different effect on our minds, whether we realize it or not. So I was one that listened to music to go to sleep as well. Maybe not rap though, because you know, rap is a little bit disruptive when you're going to sleep.
Yeah, I'm an R&B guy myself. I listen to rap when I go to the gym, but outside of that, I'm R&B everywhere else. So yeah, it'd be R&B for me.
Okay. Or
Yeah,
jazz.
I can't remember if I have fives or a lot of fives in my chart, but I also need sound to go to sleep. But I need sound to go to sleep. I need the fan to be on. I need the TV to be on. I need something to be on for me to go to sleep. So he said I don't have fives, but yeah.
But you know, in that silence though, I think it's good to have sound when you sleep, because that silence, there is still noise in the silence. Whether it's your own thoughts or whether it's spirit speaking, there's still sometimes it's too silent. And you need some type of static, some type of white noise to help your mind rest and be at ease in order to go to sleep.
Mm-hmm. Definitely for me. So we know that vibrations are the building blocks of the universe, and that sound is vibration. Explain to us, or try to explain to us, what takes place when the vibration of the sound that you emit from whatever tools you are using interact with our own vibration. What is it that is taking place that allows us to be able to feel those sounds and possibly heal or have some type of change in our being?
Well, once we must recognize who we are as beings. We are electromagnetic beings. So we have majority water in our bodies. And so with this understanding, if you haven't been familiar with or made aware of Dr. Emoto, he did a water experiment, and it's a book called The Water Experiment, where he shows how words have vibration. And so with those words, he put the word love on the jar and he put hate on the jar. And you could see the difference of what the love did, created a beautiful crystal versus what the word hate did. And this is a similarity with sound. This particular frequencies, again, are the basic tones on the keyboard, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And with those frequencies, they actually can attune different parts of the body. So I've had people that have come into session before and they had headaches, and I predominantly may have played the higher frequency bowls or the heart bowl, and it brought ease to their body. So it's basically your body is resonating and vibrating because of the water that's in our body with the frequency that's being played. So whether it's a tuning fork, whether it's a wind chime, whether it's a drum, for example, with the drum, it's the heart that the drum speaks to. So it would help calibrate the heart. And again, with our bodies, even our brains being majority water, water is a conductor. It holds vibration, it holds things. So we have to be mindful how this sound, even if it's the sound of nature, how do people feel when they go to the beach and hear the waves? It's normally calming. The sound of rain is normally calming. The sound of even the wind as it ruffles the leaves, that can be calming. Some may be more led to the ocean than the rain, but all of it is definitely healing. Some people may be annoyed by birds, but where's the joy in their life if they are annoyed by birds?
Right.
Because joy comes from birds. They're singing, they're chirping, living their best life. So why are you annoyed by a bird singing?
Right.
And we have to really see the disconnect as human beings that we have, especially if you live in a concrete jungle, a city. You don't have the opportunity to hear nature. Like if you're in the South, you're going to hear locusts. You're going to hear them birds. You're going to hear nature. So it's really a healing modality that we've been far, removed from because of society with the computers, technology, and everything else that disturbs our peace, whether we realize it or not.
Right.
I'm so interested in all of the different types of healing modalities, and I'm learning more and more about the different types of healing modalities. Speaking to you, to the other people that we've spoken to about these different healing modalities. With this season being about healing, and we know that healing is particularly important to people that carry trauma in their DNA. Is sound therapy something that we can use to that end to be able to help us heal from?
Absolutely. 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 There's actually a frequency that focuses on the DNA, 528 frequency. It's a frequency that you can play that really vibrates to the heart as well. And it's known to assist. 741 is another megahertz that helps bring infections and sickness away from the body. So it's definitely something that can be used as a modality. Even the music that we listen to on the radio, it could be a healing modality. It doesn't necessarily have to be an actual instrument that's used, but the instruments that's used in music. If you look at the music from the 70s, it was very healing, very about love and free, and it was healing. And jazz is the same thing. It's very calming and healing. So we could definitely reconstruct our DNA and the traumas that are in our DNA. The drum, most importantly, especially for Africans in America, because the drum is something that was taken away, but we always found a way. As I traveled the world with Baba, I saw that the drum even was changed to the steel drum because they couldn't play the regular drum, so they created something else. Just like you may go into the subways of New York and they have buckets, and they're using buckets as drums. So I think music and sound is really, it can be either used to destroy or it can be used to heal.
When I hear you say stuff like that about sound, take me to the Bible, since I'm a Kojic E5 Pan African. So, I still rock with the Bible.
Hey, nothing wrong with it.
But in John chapter 1, verse 1, it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was good. So when I hear the argument between Christians saying God created everything, and then you have the Western scientists that talk about the Big Bang is how everything came together, they're basically saying the same thing. They're all saying that it all started with vibration. It all started with sound.
Absolutely.
But since we're talking about healing, and even when you do readings and you see like the reading come down and you see people are dealing with emotions, especially emotions from the past, you oftentimes hear people say, oh, no, I mean, I did have an issue, but I'm good now, I'm healed. And I always wonder, like, what does healing look like? Like, how do we measure that? How can we really measure whether or not we're healed?
Oh, that's a good question. Because it's not really a look per se. I think it's a way of being. To be able to just be and breathe and be in the knowing that you are who you are and having confidence in who you are. We all may have moments where we're triggered to be like, oh, okay, maybe I haven't done the work to not be triggered by that. But it's a consciousness of being able to address your feelings and not react. Learning to process and then respond versus react. And we could say we know, but it's the knowing comes from our behavior and our actions and how we move. The look could be the aura of a person, looking bright. They look light. They don't look dark in the eyes. They're dressed well. Some people who may be depressed may not dress well or have good self-care, self-hygiene, versus a person that appears to be healed. They are well kept in a sense. But I think it's the ability to see a person's light when they walk into a room. Because again, we are vibrational beings. Our frequency is felt before we walk into a room. So the way someone may carry their head up, or the confidence is there versus them slumped down, head down, and they can't look at someone in the eye. If we're talking about how it can physically appear, but it's really not a look, because it can look differently on each person. It's not an outer thing. It's really an internal working that people must do in order to truly heal. And that light from the inside is what exudes on the outside.
I'm learning so much on this episode, especially about sound and vibrations and things like that. That book that you mentioned, I have it in my Amazon, on my Amazon wish list. I'm going to go ahead and get it now at your recommendation. I'm going to go ahead and get it now. So what you told us some of the tools that you use in your sound therapy and your sound alchemy. Tell us some more of the tools that you use in your therapy, and why do you feel that those particular tools spoke to you?
So I do use the crystal chakra bowls, sound bowls, Tibetan bowls. I also use wind chimes that are for the elements. I also use an ocean drum, a regular drum, and tuning forks. All of my tools are my favorite, depending on the session that I'm in, because they all have a different meaning. They all bring a different energy. They are all required at a certain space and time, depending on what the client needs or what the group that I'm working with needs. I particularly like working with nature the most, because it's the natural sound of things. So a lot of the times I'll do my sessions at the beach or in the park, to allow one to connect with nature and just hear the natural elements that are around, the birds, even if children come by and they're, laughing because they're near a playground, or they're playing in the water. And I think the voice is one of the most overlooked sounds that we have. Mm-hmm. We don't even account our voice and our words that come out of our mouth as being a good tool to heal. And so I'm not a singer. I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm Patti LaBelle or Aretha Franklin or Anita Baker. That ain't my thing. But chanting and saying affirmations during my sound baths, or even when I'm doing led meditation, have been very instrumental. Fafore brought up the Bible, and I am is a very powerful sound that comes from the mouth and thought process. You know, so we always saying, I'm tired, I'm sick, I'm this, I am, you're claiming all of that and not even realizing that vibration that you're putting out there by constantly saying it is creating a dis-ease or discord in the body. So I would have to say sound is very important, and we overlook that, our voice, meaning the sound from our voice.
Wow.
I think I said that, like, I think it may have been like season 1, what I was talking about in the Bible. God said, I am, like, that was probably the most powerful statement in the Bible. Like, you really, I mean, chest out, head up, like,
I am that I am.
yeah, I'm gonna have to put that on the shirt. I was like, woo-wee. I remember when I first read that, I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's some Sean Go energy. You can't get no more confident than that.
Facts.
But speaking of tools, you know, I serenaded the people with my tool, my tongue drum.
I love the tongue drum. It's a beautiful tool as well. I love the tongue drum. I have a gold one just like that.
Oh yeah. This, I was playing it the other day. I kind of was in the zone, like, oh yeah, this is talking to me. Yeah, I like that. Now you were talking about all these different tools you have.
Mm-hmm.
And I really wasn't expecting you to list all of those. I was thinking you was gonna be like, oh, you know, these is my go-to. So when you know, are helping somebody using sound therapy, you know, for healing, how do you determine which tool you're going to use at what time to help certain individuals?
Spirit led most of the time. I'm really spiritually led, to be honest. I do work at a couple of mental health facilities, and they may have a theme, and I'll sit with the theme for a second and know what drums to pull out when it comes to the crystal sound bowls. Recently, I worked with, like, their theme was instead of surviving, how are you thriving? And something told me to get the root chakra, the heart, and the crown. And those are very, very powerful points that I'm bringing to the center, because you're coming from the root, and then you're coming from the crown, where the ori apere, the top of your, you know, consciousness, comes in, and it's bringing you to the feel, the heart. Because most people stop their breath at the heart. They don't even go down to the belly. They don't even want to deal with the emotional self. They don't want to deal with the subconscious hurt and pain and emotions that are sitting in that solar and sacral chakra. And that's where our power is. Our power is in the solar chakra. So if we're not dealing with taking our breath down to that area, how are we disempowering ourselves? So it's really truly spiritual led when I use my tools and who I use what with, because I don't always bring out every tool that I have.
Right. They come up to you like, oh yeah, you got a lot of attitude today. Let me get this tuning fork out for you. Right. Yeah. We're gonna bring that down. I got the.
It's some old dudes that talk about chimes and things, instruments scaring negative energy away. You know, so it's real. It's real out here in these streets. We have to be mindful of that. You know, because it's a lot in the unseen. You know, just like sound, you really can't see sound. You can't see air. Air is one of the elements that we really take for granted. We don't realize that these words that we speak, that vibration is going through an unseen thing into the spiritual realm. You know, so it's really something to be mindful of.
Right. It reminds me of when O'Sheaun had his first bout with Rob Pay. And I don't know if he even remembers this because he was out of it, but Baba Dare had a tongue drum, and he was telling our Ubeji, James, hey, hit this, hit number 3. and he's just pounding that one. And then he's paying attention to Oshayun, what's going on with him. He like, give me number 6. I said, oh, okay, this is kind of cool.
Yes. You know, it's certain tones that bring up certain energy. And when you're in tune with what you're witnessing with a person as they're going through their process, whether through plant medicine or just a meditation, it's really something that is truly spiritually led, you know, and it definitely clears energy when we're in tune with it and open to it, because you have to be open and receptive.
Right.
I do remember that. But I was dead though. I was out of the. I was. I couldn't even focus on the sound. I couldn't focus on anything. I was just trying not to throw up and trying not to not to go to the next round. That's why I felt like I was going.
Oh no. Well, you probably were. You should have let it all go. Should have just let it all go.
Yeah, oh, he did in that little garbage can they had. Yeah. He gave it to the world.
He gave it up. He let it go.
Yeah, he did.
I did
so,
that.
So we talk a lot about sound, which is synonymous for frequency and vibration. And we also know that color is a vibration. So how can you use color for things like healing?
Well, that's beautiful, because my bowls are in color. I didn't want to get all white chakra bowls. I really wanted people to be able to connect with the color, because color plays an intricate role in our healing and in life, period. As an artist, I've always been drawn to color, vibrant colors more so than dull colors. But if you look at yellow and what that ensues in your body when you see the color yellow, does it bring joy and happiness? When we look at even the logos of fast food restaurants and warning signs or traffic signs, red or yellow is normally used. But red and yellow entices one to either warn them or entices them to come. So if you look at Wendy's, In-N-Out, McDonald's, Jack in the Box, they all have the color red in their logo. So it kind of catches your attention. It's vibrant. So you have to think, when you wear the color red, does it make you feel confident and ready to beat your chest, you know, because you're seen in red. If you're wearing white, you're looking bright and angelic and you're, you know, reflecting energy. Blue is very calming. So color therapy is a real thing. It's something that can either absorb, or it can reflect, or it can bring in that energy. You know, as I said, with the yellows and the oranges and the bright colors. So to me, I use that as a healing modality as well.
Now, so I'm a big fan of like comparative studies. I always try to see if I can find a concept that I've come across in, you know, one teaching, if I can find that somewhere else. So I was going to ask, have you found anything in Ifa that kind of talks about the use of sound for healing? The first thing that comes to my mind as you were talking, you know, about words and words being healing. And, you know, you have the Odus like Ikameji, Otora, O'Shea talks about, you know, the words you speak. Be careful of the words you speak. Don't speak negativity. Apote and things of that nature, inviting negative energies to you. So what have you found, or have you found anything in the practice of Ifa that kind of lends itself to sound healing?
Yes, well, you have from ancient Kemet, you have the tuning forks. It starts there. You know, they use tuning forks to help heal. You have Isis, who had the harp. In Ifa and Ogbe Fun, you hear about the wind chimes to scare away negative energies. In Ogbe She, it talks about Eshu having 5 instruments. In Osomina or Oshe Ogbe, it talks about drumming ceremonies for the Orisha. So it is definitely something that brings a healing to the being of a person, and protecting and warding off certain energies in the nervous system or the body, because we know that Eshu deals with the nervous system. And so with that energy of using certain tools like the bell, the flute, the drum, and the other tool I believe in that Odu Ogbeche is the shakers, the shikares or shekares, the two Congos things.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I didn't want to risk sounding through and trying to pronounce the word.
Me and it, pronunciation don't charge it to my heart. I'm a human being. But those tools in those drummings, it actually is to help calm the mind, calm the spirit, and ward off negative energies. So it is definitely in there. And music has always been a tool. As the Big Bang, sound became something. When that happened, there was sound. So without light and without sound, we wouldn't be.
Absolutely. Everything that you see and touch and can experience created with sound, with that vibration.
Absolutely. Anything that we're looking at is definitely from vibration or sound. Anything, color, a human being, we're creating this. We are the creators of all of this.
You talked about, you did mention the drum earlier, and the drum is used almost everywhere in Africa. Is used in the diaspora as one of the foundational instruments of music. What made you feel drawn to the sound bowls instead of the drum? I think I did see you use some type of drum, right? You used some type of drum, not a drum that I was used to seeing. I know it wasn't like a djembe or anything like that. It was a different type of drum. So what made you go to something that's not as often seen than the drum?
Oh, well, I do start my sessions off with the drum. I open up the heart first with the drum. Normally in my sessions, I'll beat over the person's heart with the drum so that they can feel the vibration that comes from that drum. Reason being is because if your heart is not open, then you can't be receptive to any of the other sound that comes. The sound bowls themselves, it was just something in it's the essence of the softness and how the melodies of all drums, when you're playing them simultaneously and how it vibrates out, that really it got me because I felt it as I worked on one drum by myself until I got all 7 drums. I was able to connect with my throat chakra first. I was able to connect with my heart chakra first, and something said, you know what, just get the whole set and see what it really truly will do for your own healing. And in that, the different tonal vibrations that came from the sound really created a foundation for me, and I saw the effects of how it helped a family member that I was working with when they had to deal with surgery of their brain, and it's really something that spirit led me to that. And my second would be wind chimes, that led me to that. It's just I hear I hear certain tones that others may not hear, and I'm able to kind of control, either go fast with that tone, or I can slow it down so it vibrates a little bit further out. And it's just something, I guess, within myself that led me to say, you know what, this right here is for you. You have to use this as your modality, not because it's going to make you, different, because there's a lot of people that are doing it. There's a lot of people that are using drums. They just may not be, their alchemy may be different from mine, because we all bring different energy. And so for me, that was my medicine and what I saw as being the alchemy to my craft.
Mm-hmm. I love what you said about starting off with the drum to open them up, because if they're not opened up, then nothing's going to happen. I go to a holistic doctor, and the first thing he does is he checks you energetically to see if you're open or not. So it's beautiful how all of these different things are interconnected.
Absolutely. There is no separation. We just tend to create the separation. But there is no separation in anything, as a Reiki master, that's one modality and that's still vibrational for me,
Right.
because I'm saying certain prayers or chants when I'm doing what I'm doing, which is again sound. So it's there is no separation. We just have to be able to connect the dots.
Ashe, Ashe. So I got a question for specifically for my baby sister. Shout out to Ashley, Ifafun Minimo. Uh, she has her hand in V5. She's actually had her in the V5 for about 3 or 4 years now.
Ashe.
Um, but she refuses to like even cut back on wearing black. She came to the fire ceremony at our initiation with a full black outfit on. I'm like, come on now. And she always says to me, I don't understand why I gotta stop wearing black. I like black. So can you tell my sister and the world why they should at least reduce the amount of black that they wear?
Well, black is one that absorbs. It's a color that absorbs all energy and all things. We know that all color comes from black. So to go out in public, major events with lots of people, you're going to absorb all that energy. You think you're hiding, but you're not hiding from the unseen spirits that see you. And so to wear black, you're taking on energy that's not yours. And so you might find yourself heavy, once you get home and then you don't take the necessary bath or spiritual bath to cleanse that energy off and you go on your day and then you might wear black the next day. And it's you're just attracting. You don't want to be seen, but you're being seen and you're absorbing the frequency of things that you're walking through, whether it's a store, whether it's a mall, and you don't know the energy that those people have on them. And so to protect yourself is best to wear white or bright colored clothes in order to repel that unseen energy, because you don't want to be a dump for other people's stuff, not realizing that you become that dump for other people's stuff because of the color black. So I try to stay away from black as much as possible, especially on my head, because that is my spiritual portal to my higher consciousness. So to wear that on my head, I'm blocking the ability for that to come through and come in. And it's kind of like the dark hole, the abyss, so to speak. What are you absorbing and taking home with you? The womb is dark, and creation happens in the darkness. So it's, what are you creating with wearing that black? What do you want to attract? Some people wear the black to absorb people's energy, because they are aware. So you got to even be mindful of that.
Right.
Who want to come around you? Oh, I'm gonna wear black on purpose because I want to absorb their energy.
Right.
There are people out there that do that.
So that brings up an interesting thing because you said you don't wear black on your head. Now, I've heard women who are, spiritual and, into this kind of space who even say the same thing about wearing wigs as far as blocking, your head and that energy. How do you view that?
That's a good question. It's interesting because when you're adding some other energies to your head, for example, me now, it can bring a different vibration, a different energy. I'm not knocking anyone that chooses to do that because that's their right. So it works for some and it doesn't work for others, but you have to be very mindful. If you're a sensitive person, you want to be mindful of the energy that you put on your head. You want to be mindful of the energy that you even, the colors that you wear on your body, because if you're like a majority water sign, you're already a conduit to absorb energy. So to wear black on top of that, you're absorbing more. So again, women who choose to wear wigs on their head, is just, again, being conscious. Some people may not wash their hair for 3 months, and then you have to think of all what energy has been held into that process of those 3 months. you know. So I would just say more of that than anything, to at least take the wig off, wash it, and put it back on if you have to.
Ashe.
Shay.
You know, the world that we live in now, you know what I'm saying, is that, you know, you got to show me, you know, the proof is in the pudding, all that type of stuff. And I'm sure that sound healing is something that's new, or something that most people who haven't even heard of. You know? So people are going to want to know, well, if you say all this sound healing is all good, you know, who you know that's been healed from the sound healing? So can you give us some examples of some healing testimonies that you've seen through sound?
Yes, so I actually have a group session that I've been doing for almost a year now. And when I first started the session, the individual, when I came around with the drum, they didn't like the drum. The drum reminded them of their Caucasian ancestors who went to war. So when I played it, it only made them angry. And so as I've been working with them, now they're able to accept the drum and receive the drum because their heart is more open. They've been doing the work. As I mentioned earlier, a relative, Ibashe, to my father, Jerome Carmouche, who is now in Orun, I worked with him with affirmations and words as well as sound when he was about to prepare to have brain surgery to have cancer removed from his brain. In that process, the words themselves and the vibration of him affirming himself with the words along with sound actually allowed his brain to heal faster than the doctors even imagined. We used to do an exercise that spoke of what he wanted it to go into existence. So it was called Back to the Future. And so with that, we would go through this process of me communicating with him and sharing, so how did surgery go? And he would tell me how it would go as if it already happened. And I would give him different frequencies to play and go to sleep with at night. Well, by the time he had the surgery, everything that he said would happen, happened. He said the doctors will be amazed and they will send doctors from other places to study him and look at him. And he would go home faster than they expected him to. And he would walk faster than they expected him to. And I really attest that to him affirming himself, as well as the sound frequencies that he played at night to help close up that area where they removed the cancer from his brain a lot faster than they intended it to heal. So I've really seen it have people who weren't communicative about how they were feeling. They weren't sharing after the sound bone. It was all right, you know, to fast forward 6 months now, and they're having abstract visions and visions of worlds where people are love one another and it's full of peace, and they're being very detailed of the visions that they're having after the sound bath, because at first they didn't have any visions. Even with my father, he would just close his eyes and he would just see darkness and he couldn't remember his dreams. But as working with him with sound and affirming himself, he started to recall dreams. And the day he said, I had a dream, I said, oh, like Martin Luther King? And he was like, did I just say I had a dream? I said, you sure did. He said, wow, I remembered my dream. So it's really a tool that can really clear energy. You know, people have to be open to it. If you're not open and you don't believe, how can you get to a knowing? You know, you have to get to a place of knowing by going through it, by studying it, by experiencing it. You know, and so my experience I had one sound bowl session that only was 15 minutes, but the person was already doing their work. So the sound bowl went quicker than an hour. And in that, she got up and she was like, you made me throw up. I was like, I didn't make you do anything. The sound bowl did that. You know, you've been doing the work and it clears some energy from you that I had no control over. You know, so it's been a beautiful experience to watch it unfold in different people's life and how it unfolds and how people heal. I remember there was someone who had problems with their hands. Their hands were throbbing, their back was hurting, and they didn't want to lay down to have the session. They wanted to sit up because they were kind of like, this is my first time. I don't know what you got going. And they just watching me. And I'm like, okay, you can do that because I'm about to do what I do. And that's okay. And after the session, they were like, well, the pain I had in my hand, it's not there anymore. The pain in my back is not there anymore. And then I was led to ask them, well, do you write? Well, have you been writing? You know, well, no, I don't write anymore. well, maybe that's spirit's way of telling you you need to write and move and allow that poetry to come off of your fingers, but the sound just moved the energy to give you the go ahead to do that, the encouragement to go ahead and get back to that. But again, you have to be open to share what experience you had in that moment, in order to give further guidance on how to move with that, therapy that you just received. So I have countless things. People couldn't sleep, they hadn't slept for days and they fall asleep in the class or the group session and from sleep deprivation, and they actually are able to, oh, I think I went to sleep. No, you went to sleep because you were snoring. It's okay.
Right.
But I saw myself, I was looking at my body. Well, you went to sleep. You had a lucid dream. You fell asleep for sure. And it's beautiful to see people relax and allow themselves to be in the moment.
Yeah, I think that's something that most people just have to do, and it's just release and give in
Yes.
to. You brought up something special, and when I studied neurolinguistics programming, at least for a little while, I read a little bit on it. I came across this concept called anchoring. And it basically talked about how we can anchor certain memories or emotions to certain sounds and other things. And that when we hear that sound, again, we're able to go back to that memory or to that emotion. Have you experienced that in your practice in sound alchemy?
Yes, absolutely. Especially when I play majority heart instruments. I've had some people journey to parts of their childhood. Some people, because I set intent before I start, I have a person set the intent of what they are looking to get out of the session, because again, that intent is a vibration as well. And so in that, I've had people have visits with their ex-girlfriends, and it actually was a pleasant experience versus what they thought it was going to be when they saw them. And I've had people go to parts of their childhood with their parents and heal the trauma that they may have been dealing with at that time, and seeing a whole nother perspective now that they've done whatever other work, other healing modalities that they have used other than sound. But it does take you on a journey if you allow it to take you on a journey. I've had people that may have relocated out of the state that they were born and raised in, and then on the journey, they take them back to that space that they left. And it puts them in a space of calm and ease versus remembering whatever trauma that they dealt with while they were in that state or in that space. So I definitely would say that frequencies, especially the tuning forks, can not trigger, but awaken a part of self that was dormant. And sound tends to, again, clear those blockages of things that we may have repressed in our subconscious. Because again, the breath that goes only to the heart and not really to the lower parts of ourselves, that's where the blockages mainly are in most people. So yes, it definitely speaks to bringing up those things, those memories.
I show you.
Yeah, this was a beautiful episode.
I didn't think that that there was so much that went into sound therapy. So I learned a lot. I learned a lot in this episode about sound. I mean, it just makes sense, knowing what I know about frequencies and about vibrations and the sound thing. It just makes sense. And like I say, my experience with you in Galveston. Oh yeah, man, I like this, man. I think I could do this. Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of people don't understand that music can be healing. At some point, I think in the 90s, there's articles out about how they even changed the frequency on the instruments that are played compared to the frequency of the instruments, the natural instruments that were played in the 70s. We had more live bands in the 70s playing on records and albums than we do now. It's more computerized now. And that computerized frequency is not as healing as the frequency of a live instrument. So when you go to a concert and you may see the person live and they have live instruments behind them and their words are healing words, you definitely understand, the ebb and flow of sound, music, and frequency.
Absolutely. Well, Iya, we greatly appreciate you for coming, sitting with us, sharing your gift, sharing your knowledge with the people. This was an amazing episode.
Oh, well, thank you guys so much. I think you guys are doing an amazing job. I thank you for this platform that you are creating. You know, it is my prayer that Ifa and the Orisha continue to expand you. You're doing the work of the ancestors, bringing things to light that many of us may have knowledge of, or may be aware of, but not believe in it. And you're creating this space for people to really get more understanding of what it is to heal, or what it is to be a priest, or even the divine feminine and what that looks like. So may you guys continue to expand and touch the minds and hearts of those that you guys connect with. I appreciate you bringing me and this undeniable alchemy to this space.
I like that. Oh, yeah. Can you tell the people if they want to, stay in contact with you, connect with you, see what you got going on? What's the best way for them to do that?
Undeniable Alchemy on IG or Facebook, and undeniablealchemy.com. You can also check me out there, but more so social media, as I'll be giving, sessions or live sessions and different things that people can catch, and tools and tips in regards to color and sound. So thank you again for this time and space. It's getting dark here. It's night over there, and we just now getting the sunset over here. So that's why you see the lighting change in the room. But I appreciate you guys' time and your presence. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And family, again, this whole season dedicated to healing, we're going to give you access to every modality that we know of, the modality that we know, people who are connected with things that we know that are helping people. And we want you to tap in, reach out to these people, Google, do searches, see if there's somebody that you can reach out to in your local area. But by the end of this season, we're going to leave you in a space where there's no more excuses, right? There's no more, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. So this is another tool that you'll have. This is another great opportunity that you have for healing. So once again, we thank you for tuning in with us. We appreciate the support. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share. Share, subscribe, and like. All that good stuff. The button to do that is somewhere right down here. Again, we appreciate you, and we'll see you next week. Remember, life's a journey. Don't forget the map. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.